And now I get to jostling between design and art, and that'll be the final section. I like this term, jostling, to evoke the relationship of an experimentally oriented ethnographic method to design on one side and to contemporary art movements on the other, as the two key creative sources for shaping a more active interventionist role of ethnographic research in its sites of fieldwork. I give a priority concern to ethnography within its distinctive histories rather than to examine its already existing considerable record of collaborative relations with each broad area. Ethnography is not new to design and art movements, but in the former's own disciplinary history and agenda in anthropology, the latter are relatively new to it. So what can ethnography absorb and experiment with from the various design and art movements? The inspiration of design methods and thinking have been intended to incorporate ethnography through the use of cultural probes as well as the space they make for knowledge of end users. So ethnography has always been important to various versions of design to represent the end user or to invent what are called cultural probes. But the commitment to the communities or the ethnographic subject is somewhat different than that of the ethnographer, him or herself. But reciprocally for ethnography itself, design disciplines offer, first, a rationale and ideology for operating creatively and sometimes experimentally within structures of business, markets, governance, and policy. This is captured in Bruno Latour's delicious characterization of design as cautious Prometheus, capable of morphing matters of even critical fact into matters of concern. And second, and in terms of tradecraft, design venues offer most crucially actual technologies and experience for developing new spaces for ethnographic research alongside and within fieldwork. Design methods provide the legitimation and, most importantly, the craft and forms to produce third spaces, studios, and sites for collective or collaborative work within fieldwork. They provide in some cunning, ingenuity, and process, cocoons, and a certain kind of mimicry in effect, but which ethnography can produce, by which ethnography can produce intermediate forms that are necessary for it to be multi-sided in the way that I have described in this paper. Parallel attention to the creativity and imagination of certain contemporary art movements, such as the ideas of relational aesthetics developed by Nicolas Bourriaud and the debates it has engendered, can enhance the context of design thinking and methods in which ethnographers have begun to produce the intermediate forms that I have described as spaces and means of experiment with intervention in the course of long-term fieldwork projects. For the experiments that I'm evoking here, I've been especially engaged most recently by Claire Bishop's 2012 Artificial Hells as providing a thrust for anthropological ethnography that frankly it would not be as likely to do for itself. Attention to this work will lead me into a concluding discussion of the 214 square feet project, which has contraption qualities, the logic of which is captured by Bishop's discussions of the key binds of participatory art projects. These binds are the source of creative designs for interventions that come to define the core dynamics within ethnographic projects, enhancing still indispensable participant observation with creative pressures to design experiments of interventions among actors and subjects who constitute micro-publics for successive prototypical iterations of ethnographic argument in the field, so to speak. Those are the basic steps. The liveliness of ethnographic ideas depends on processing by design and art in the field that surrounds their articulation in professional journals and representation. So I talk a little bit about Claire Bishop's work here. I'll go ahead and do it. This will leave time for discussion, I hope. And then I'll discuss briefly, in conclusion, this 214 square foot problem is one of the modalities in which we've been working. I'll describe them briefly. But